All right, guys. I hope you guys are doing great. I think we have a pretty good subject for you today. Jon Jones, the GOAT of what? I hope that you guys are not calling him the GOAT of the heavyweight division. I just hope that. And I do think that when you guys are calling him the GOAT, that term is used a little bit too loosely. Especially when you have guys like Francis Ngannou, and especially also guys like Stipe Miocic that have been roaming and ruling that division for years, right? So if you want to call this guy, right? If you want to call this guy the, I don't know, the GOAT of the light heavyweight division, well, good be to you. That's great. No worries, because that's actually what he was. He was the GOAT of the light heavyweight division. There's no discussion whatsoever about it, right? I mean, he has been beating the who's who of the time in the light heavyweight division, and I have absolutely no issues about that. The only issue though that I can make, the only discussion that I can make about that though, is that you're talking about a guy who walks around at 230, right? At about 230 pounds. You're talking about a guy who has a reach of 84 inch, right? And that is fighting, and he has to cut weight to 205 to fight guys that walk around at about 210, right? And that are maybe average size, maybe 6'1", right? In front of him. And not only that, right? That advantage that he's gaining right there. But not only that, but you have to understand that the guy was tested positive to PED not once, twice. So you're talking about a cheater here. And if you don't believe me, just, give a ring, give a call to Daniel Cormier, right? I'm pretty sure he remembers and must still be crying about that fight where Jon Jones tested positive to PED. He must still be crying. Just ask him. I mean, you need to understand something for the people who says like, I don't know, that guy, I don't remember his name. He's kind of a karate guy. And he says that, yeah, boy, they're talking about PEDs, but that's nothing. I'm sorry. Somebody who uses PED might have his stamina increase, might be a little bit more resistance to the punches, might have more cardio, right? So this guy, right, who's cheating, he's facing someone who has been training his ass off, and who has been clean, right, coming into this fight, right? So what it means is that all the work that guy, the guy who's clean, has done, is all for shit when the other guy wins, especially when he has been using like performance enhancing drugs. So that's very important to remember. So when you're talking about Jon Jones, okay, light heavyweight and the GOAT of the light heavyweight, I'll take it. No worries. I'm going to take it, right? But what I'm saying is that when someone tests positive to PED once, I understand that could be a mistake, right? Maybe he has drank something he wasn't supposed to drink, he didn't know, or ate something he was supposed to eat, he didn't know, right? But when you get tested positive a second time, and on top of that, your rap sheet, your history is showing a history of someone who's always in trouble and doing stupid stuff, right? I'm starting to link the things together and really try this and see it as it is, right? A cheater is a cheater. That's it, right? But again, that's my opinion, and it involves just me. And I'm going to leave it aside, and I'm just going to say, okay, no worries. He is in fact the light heavyweight GOAT. No issues about that. You can see the wins that he had, very young to win the belt at light heavyweight, and went on until today to defend that belt and rule that division with an iron fist, right? Although when he meets guys his size like the Alfredson, the Gustafsson, the Dominic Reyes of this world, you see what type of stuff happen. And when you look at his face doesn't look the same that when he faces like a smaller opponent with smaller limbs, if I can express myself like this. So let's put it aside and let's give him the GOAT of the heavyweight. Now you want to give him like the GOAT, let's say the pound for pound fighter, the best fighter in history in I would say the UFC, right? or maybe even if you want to say the MMA, I don't care. You can say MMA if you want. But let me ask you that question, right? Floyd Mayweather might have been the pound for pound fighter back in the days, right? Does that mean that he was able to beat Mike Tyson? No, crickets. No, he's no. And if you believe that, is that you don't think straight, right? Now, let's say DJ, right, was he was in that discussion to be the pound for pound best, right, back in the days. Would he been able to beat a guy like Stipe Miocic or beat a guy like Francis Ngannou? No, that's ridiculous. So being the pound for pound best doesn't mean shit. It just means that talent wise, pound for pound wise, you are the best, right? When you compare to heavyweight, light heavyweight, and so on and so on and so forth. That's your pound for pound best. That's the only thing that it means. But it doesn't mean that because Jon Jones is considered as the pound for pound best GOAT of MMA that he's going to be, you can already give him like the title of the baddest man on the planet, and that he's able to beat guys like Stipe Miocic or even guys like Francis Ngannou. Are you freaking crazy? Do you even know what you're talking about, right? I do understand that you like to follow the narrative of the UFC, listen to guys like Chael Sonnen, listen to guys like Brendan Schaub, who are feeding you crap and lies every day, and you're eating those crap and lies sandwich like if there was no tomorrow. That's totally crazy. And what I think is that if you believe those stuff, right, guys, what you are just like little puppets and little UFC fans. That's what you are. You're not fans of MMA. You're not. You don't understand what MMA is. The only thing that you're fan of is you're fan of that freaking logo. That's it. Or that freaking show, freak show that the UFC is giving you, like almost like once upon a time, or during the weekend. That's it. That's all. If you believe that because we call Jon Jones like the pound for pound best, then he's going to beat all the fighters, all the heavyweight that there is in this world, right? That's something that I want to make perfectly clear. That's stupid, that's ridiculous, and that's totally irrelevant. Now, we're talking about the GOAT of the heavyweight division. Are you crazy? The guy has just one fight. He beat Ciryl Gane in 2 minutes, and you call him the heavyweight GOAT? Because like maybe in Francis Ngannou fought the same guy, and it took him 5 rounds. Don't you remember that this guy had like busted knee? Do you remember that he had busted knee? Right? But still, with his busted knee, and you say that he has no IQ, he find a way, to overturn the trend and beat Ciryl Gane using wrestling, which is a weapon that's nobody was expecting him to use, and especially nobody was expecting him to win with. So basically, if Jon Jones won, actually, and especially in 2 minutes, right, there's one guy that he has to thank for, right? And this guy is Francis Ngannou, right? Who showed him the blueprint, who gave him the blueprint how to beat Ciryl Gane. And since the wrestling of Jon Jones, we have to admit this, right, is a higher level than the one of Francis Ngannou for now, right? Then it's totally natural than seeking for a takedown and seeking to grapple with Ciryl Gane. As soon as he got his hand on him, right, he hold on to him for dear life. Especially that during the first round, the body is pretty dry, so it's easier to grab and hold on and do what you have to do, especially if you're an expert on that. I mean, this is not magic. You don't have to have like a degree, a master degree in MMA or in fighting to kind of understand that, right? But what you need to be able to do, right, is to separate yourself from your fanatism of the UFC logo and understand like MMA fighting, right? That's what you need to understand. Mixed martial art in general, not UFC mixed martial art and then mixed martial art. That's ridiculous. That's stupid. That's not how it works. Now, are you going to tell me, so what you're telling me now, Stipe never fought Ciryl Gane, right? So what you're going to tell me is that since Jon Jones beat Ciryl Gane, right, and Stipe never fought Ciryl Gane, then Jon Jones is going to beat Stipe Miocic. Are you freaking crazy? Are you freaking out of your mind? Right? And first of all, you're calling like Jon Jones the GOAT and including in it, right? And not being specific and alluding that he's also the GOAT of the heavyweight. But where does that leave Stipe Miocic? Even Francis Ngannou is kind of saying that in terms of legacy, Stipe Miocic was actually the GOAT of the heavyweight division, right? But where does that leave Stipe Miocic when you guys are saying that Jon Jones is alluding that Jon Jones is the heavyweight GOAT? I remember Daniel Cormier saying that Stipe Miocic was the heavyweight GOAT, and how can it change with only one fight that Jon Jones did at heavyweight? Now, it's something that's totally gets me fired up, people. It just gets me fired up, right? To see how gullible people are, to see how people are fanatics of the UFC and don't look further than that freaking logo, or that don't try to think further than the words or the freaking lies and bullshit that are coming out of the mouth of a guy like Dana White or a guy like Chael Sonnen or a guy like Brendan Schaub, right? I don't understand that. I really don't understand that. Don't you get it? That those guys, Francis Ngannou and Stipe Miocic, made their legacy, their career at heavyweight, fighting heavyweight day in, day out. It's not like they fought them once. They have one fight so that you can compare Jon Jones to them. They had multiple fights. Stipe Miocic had 24 heavyweight fights. Francis Ngannou had 20. Right? What are you guys smoking? What are you guys talking about to even try and start to compare all of these guys together, right? The only two guys that you can compare are Francis Ngannou and Stipe Miocic. That's it. Comparing them to Jon Jones is high-level stupidity. High-level ignorance, right? I mean, look at the shit of Francis Ngannou. He beat Ciryl Gane on one leg, right? He beat Stipe Miocic. He beat Jairzinho Rozenstruik. He beat Junior Dos Santos. He beat Ken Velasquez. He beat Curtis Blades twice. He beat Alistair Overeem, Andre Arlovski. And listen. That's not all. He beat them all like in record time. Jairzinho, 22nd, first round. Junior Dos Santos, 1 minute 11 seconds, first round. Ken Velasquez, 26-second, first round. Curtis Blade, 45-second, first round, right? We go to Alistair Overeem, almost decapitated him. 142, first round. Andre Arlovski. Do you want me to continue on and on? And when we're talking about Stipe Miocic, right? I mean, all these guys are heavyweight, right? That he faced. Now, when we're talking about Stipe Miocic, Daniel Cormier, 5th round. Okay, good. He beat them. No worries. He beat Daniel Cormier again, right? We're talking about Francis Ngannou here. He lost once again. Don't forget, there was a trilogy. So he beat him twice, right? He beat Francis Ngannou. No worries. Junior Dos Santos, first round, 222nd. He beat Alistair Overeem, first round, 4 minute 27 seconds. He beat Fabrizio Verdum, 247, first round. He beat Andre Arlovski, 54-second, first round. So let me tell you, let me ask you this, since you guys are doing like MMA mathematics or UFC mathematics, because you don't know nothing about real MMA, right? Because you're just like fanatics of UFC. That's it. You try to explain to me and try to tell me now that Jon Jones would have beaten those guys like as fast as they've beaten him. That these guys have beaten them like first round for Francis Ngannou, like knockout artists, right? And a little bit the same thing though on Stipe Miocic's side. Like we are kind of dismissing him a little bit in terms of punching power. But when we look at it, boy, there's a lot of first round TKO, first round victories, right? Now you dare compare that to only one victory? Someone who has spent his whole life, his entire career, people that has, made their bread and butter, their fame, their money, right, their legacy at heavyweight, fighting heavyweight. What are you drinking? What are you smoking? What are you doing? What are you doing? Right? You want to tell me that Jon Jones, right, now with one fight against a guy who's unidimensional, right, to who Francis Ngannou has already shown the blueprint on how to beat him? You want to say that because he beat that guy, now he's the GOAT, now he can beat Francis Ngannou, now he can beat Stipe Miocic? You guys are crazy. You guys, listen, you guys, it's obvious, you don't know what you're talking about. You really don't know what you're talking about. And let me ask you this again, right? And this is how he looks when he meets guys that are maybe almost the same reach or almost the same size that he is, right? He doesn't look the same, right, at the start of the fight that at the end of the fight. Look at this. This is totally crazy, right? And I'm going to ask you a last question before we end this, right? No, before I ask you that question, I'm just going to, just finish it on the baddest man on the planet side. What are you talking about? I mean, Francis Ngannou, the baddest man on the planet, it's not like a title or a belt that they give in the UFC, right? Or, I'm saying that, but hold on. hold on. There's a belt of the UFC heavyweight champion, right? And after that, the UFC heavyweight champion, people call him the baddest man on the planet, right? So let me tell you this. How can Jon Jones be the baddest man on the planet if he hasn't beaten Francis Ngannou? I want to ask you that. And how come you're going to give him that title of baddest man on the planet just because he has beaten Ciryl Gane? Although, no matter what, Francis Ngannou has beaten Ciryl Gane as well, right? Tell me. And how are you going to give him that title when he hasn't even beaten Stipe Miocic that really should have fought him before Ciryl Gane? Because that's the question that I want to ask you at the end of the day. First of all, he is not the baddest man on the planet. Definitely not, right? And second of all, I want to ask you, how come Ciryl Gane has stepped over Stipe Miocic to fight for the UFC heavyweight title belt? Why? How can it be? In my mind, when I think about it, the one that should have had that fight was Stipe Miocic. There is a reason for that. There is a reason for that. You need to understand that, right? There is a reason for that. The UFC was not going to take a chance to put Jon Jones in there for his first fight against Stipe Miocic because that's dangerous, right? You guys are talking crap right now, disrespecting Stipe Miocic, disrespecting his career, disrespecting what he has achieved at heavyweight, to all be on board with a fraud and a criminal like Jon Jones, right? Do you think that Jon Jones is a better champion than Stipe Miocic? The only reason why you keep him is because you can maybe lie and carry that narrative that, okay, he's the GOAT, and since, right, he's a good fighter, people are more inclined to believe, and he hasn't lost, so people are more inclined to believe that he could be, or that he could beat Francis Ngannou, right? But at the end of the day, what kind of champion do you have here? If he's not like a kind of a hit and run perpetrator champion, domestic violence perpetrator champion, right? Somebody who crashed into the car of a pregnant woman and didn't face his responsibility, left the scene of the accident without giving any assistance to that woman, right? Stipe Miocic is a fireman. What are you guys freaking talking about? What are you freaking talking about when you're just praising and making it seem that you have a perfect champion that can represent the brand of the UFC, right? What the hell are you smoking? I'm asking you that again, right? And you're there to compare your paper champion that the UFC is protecting by giving him Ciryl Gane to chew on, right? Instead of giving him real opposition that can threaten his freaking record of 27 and something, that basically to me, after using PEDs doesn't mean nothing. Like I said, you use PEDs once, yeah, that could be a mistake. But when you use it twice, that's something else. And then when you add the stuff that he did outside, that kind of show you the type of person that he is. You know, the type of not honorable person, not helping, instead of helping the weak and the needy, the one that cannot protect themselves. What does he do? He just left. He just flee. He slaps women and choke them. Example in a nightclub. What are you talking about? This are you serious when you're talking right now? But listen, it's okay. I'm getting a little bit away from the subject because you guys are getting me fired up. But if we get down to the business, down to the nitty gritty, people, if we get down to the nitty gritty, what we have here talks. What we have here talks, right? It says it all, right? It talks volume, right? You got one guy that has done one fight in heavyweight that now you want to call a GOAT of the heavyweight, while you have a Stipe Miocic and a Francis Ngannou that has spent all their career fighting heavyweights, right? Together, they have a total combined number of fights of 44 fights. 44 fights in the UFC at heavyweight, fighting dangerous, lethal adversary, right? Jon Jones only has one. You guys are stupid. What? Jon Jones only has one. And on top of that, right? On top of that, the two guys that you see here, Stipe Miocic and Francis Ngannou, don't have a criminal rap sheet like Jon Jones, right? They never got caught using PEDs like Jon Jones. So you have a cheater, right? You have a cheater and a criminal that you guys are promoting. That's just beautiful. And you gullible little like fans of the UFC, because I'm not even going to say fans of MMA. You guys gullible little fans of the UFC. You're eating those lie and crap sandwich that they're feeding you every day in social media or on YouTube. Chael Sonnen and Brandon Schaub. What are you doing? What are you doing? Like, it doesn't take like a master degree to understand that, does it? Oh, guys, no, this is too much. This is too much. Listen, drop something. You can, if you want to shout out. If you disagree, agree. No worries. You can disagree, agree. Leave me a comments there, and just click on that button and share that freaking video. Peace out, guys.